Welcome to the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube. This is our Awakening Together weekly gathering. Each and every week we have a different minister who speaks. If you'd like to attend our services live, please visit our website awakening-together.org. Click on Online Sanctuary on the main menu. Then, How to Enter the Sanctuary. Our services are held Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary.
Good morning, beloveds, and thank you, Sina, for that introduction here today. As Sina mentioned, it is the very last day of October. All Hallows, or I think it's actually, they celebrate, it's the Day of the Dead they celebrate as well. So welcoming everyone into the sanctuary today. It's a pleasure, an honor, and always a privilege to be here to share in my own experiences and my own joys of life. Okay, thank you so much. It's so good to see everyone from all over the place saying hello and chiming in here this morning. All right, so sorry about that. I was already in the prayer already, heading right into that prayer already. It is right here. It is right here. So please join me for prayer right now. With so much gratitude, I enter this now moment, excited, curious, amazed by all that is. Acknowledging the presence of love, the presence of stillness, the presence of oneness in this moment. Acknowledging that present, welcoming that love, light, energy into this space. I give thanks today for everyone present and available, ready to hear today's message. For anyone listening in the future, I give thanks for them as well. And so I acknowledge the presence of love. I acknowledge the presence of all that is. I acknowledge my connection to all that is. The power, that one power that permeates all things, all beings, and all time and space. I give thanks for it today. I give thanks for the knowledge of it. I give thanks for the power of it. I give thanks for all of it. And so it is, and so I let it be. Amen. All right, so today's topic, today's discussion, it's an interesting how this whole, the reading, Rubye Nasser will be reading for me today at today's gathering. It was very interesting how that all came about. Like, for the first time, I was guided to allow my reader to let me know what the reading would be for today. And so Rubye did that. She went and looked at what she was working with. I think it was gentle healing. She's in gentle healing. So, of course, that amazing work that they're working with there. So her selection was 1 Corinthians. She actually provided me a couple of selections, but we narrowed it down to what her initial, where she was initially guided to go, which was 1 Corinthians, verse 12. I think it starts at verse 12, and then it'll run through 26 there. And then she'll also be picking up in verse 13 and reading verse 1 through 7 there. So part of my guidance there was to trust that whatever came forward, whatever was being read would be relevant for where I am, for what's going on in my life, for what I'm here to talk about today, that I was just to trust that. And so I did, and that's where it is. So so I'm going to release this mic and ask Rubye, because, you know, I'll talk more about the fact that that's exactly what it ended up being. We had no communication, Rubye and I, about what she would end up presenting. And what she ended up presenting did exactly that. It spoke directly to where I am, and I can certainly tie it into what I plan to speak about today. So I want to thank the universe for always showing up in perfect timing, in perfect alignment. And I'm grateful to be a part of that alignment. Rubye, I'm going to release this mic to you and ask you to read 1 Corinthians NTI.
Everybody can hear me okay? Fine, I'm going to turn my speaker up. Okay. First of all, I want to thank you, Gloria, because what you did was very perfect for me. It allowed me to go over Corinthians. I'm sorry. It allowed me to go over Corinthians, 1 Corinthians, the whole chapters, very in detailed. And then it allowed me, because you asked me to share something about the retreat I just went on. And then I went over that with a fine-tuned comb too. So it was just amazing realization for me to do both of those over the past 3 days. Okay, now I'm reading Corinthians chapter 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verses 12 through 26. This is why I ask you to see the world as one song or as a script. It is so you will not break it up into parts to judge. One song is whole, perfect at its finish. One script cannot be broken apart. When you look at your brothers, you see separate parts. But this must mean that you are not looking with me. For I do not see separate parts of one thing. When I look, I only see the whole. When you look with me, there is nothing to judge. For everything works for the healing of one mind. There is no error. There's no mistake. There isn't one single flaw. There is only one mind listening to itself and recognizing which self is true. It is an awakening, a growing recognition, and it is perfect in every way. I'm reading 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 1 through 7. The reasons for all things is love. Division is the opposite of love, because division excludes. Love cannot exclude. Love is whole. knowing only truth. Become as an empty shell to know love. That is your reason. That is your true desire. To look on the world and divide it by judging is not love. And so it is not what you want. Lay down what you do not want and accept joyfully that which you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Rubye. Thank you so much for reading that. I need to read from our core values for today's reading. I was really into what you were just reading there, just drew me right in. The core value that today's talk will hopefully focus on a bit here is core value number 5. We accept all forms as temporary appearances permitted through enduring awareness of self. We live this value by honoring all appearances and all experiences while continually reflecting on changeless truth. All right, so yeah, like I mentioned, that particular reading that Rubye just read from there was her choice, her selection. It obviously gave her the opportunity to reflect on that reading a little more. And once I received the reading, I went back in. I actually went in and listened to one of Regina's teachings, one of her discourses on that particular chapter, those particular verses there in 1 Corinthians. I went back in and listened to part of that discourse to see what she had to say about that. And mostly it was talking about this empty shell, this one song that Rubye just read for us about there, this one song that unites all of us, this and the power of love, that oneness and love is there. A lot of what Regina talked about in her talk was the loving all method, how everything that's here is here to be accepted as it is. And that is literally our task, our job, our role there is to learn to get to a place where we're able and okay with just accepting whatever shows up for us at any given moment. Of course, that's a lot easier to do when things are going smoothly for us. You know, it's a lot easier when life is being generous and kind and all of the other things that life will be for us as we move through it. So, you know, it was very relevant for where I am. I already knew when I asked Rubye to select a reading, I already knew what I was going to be talking about. I mean, I knew that's why it was so part of the reason that's that fair weather thing there. Part of the reason it was easy for me to release that need to select a reason, because I knew what my talk would be about. The only thing that would even remotely concern me is whether or not what she read would, you know, correspond with that talk. So, but as I said, it did perfectly, so beautifully it did. So what the topic of this sharing this week is the quickening. And I don't know if everyone here knows what a quickening is, so I'll talk about that for just a second here. A quickening is when a fetus is in the mother's womb, right? Those very initial stages of being in the mother's womb. There are certain body parts, like the heart develops like instantly, like the heart is in play within a couple of days or something, or a week or something. It's really fast how the heart starts to develop. And then the brain and other important organs begin to manifest for a fetus. Well, at about week 15, the fetus moves enough for the mother to feel it, for the mother to make that connection too, that, there's something growing inside of me. All right. So a quickening is literally that connection between baby and its source, which is mother. It's the recognition of that source. It's the recognition of the being, and it's one. They are one in that recognition. That's what a quickening is. All right. In actuality, in medical terms, that's what a quickening is. In spiritual terms, for me, it's that too. It's the recognition of my source, my connection to that source, and knowing that that source also recognizes me. All right. I've heard along this spiritual path, I've heard a couple of people over time say things like, there's no mistaking when you get to a certain level, or I don't even want to say level, that's the wrong word, but words really fail me in this area. They really do, but I'll do my very best here. Because I've been talking about these many awakenings, about reaching a new level of understanding, and then having everything below that all of a sudden make sense. Of course, that's how it is. I've been talking about that in my last couple of sessions. But here, as of late, I would say within the last probably 3-4 months, maybe even 6, it's been much more intense. The frequency of those things happening where it all comes in at once, and there's an understanding of where I've been and where I'm at. There's that instant understanding, something that would take me days, weeks to sit here and give you a play-by-play of, comes in, and there's this instant knowing. So things like that have increased in frequency. What I eat, what I'm eating, some of that stuff is changed. But the interesting part is none of these things happening individually in and of themselves trigger me until it starts to connect, until I can see a connection, like, wait a second, and start making those connections. But again, individually, when they happen, it's like, something, it's just life unfolding. But as this awakening has deepened within me, has unfolded more, certain things have come to into my understanding. One thing that I've noticed a lot, and I accept it and I roll with it. It was part of what I just talked about with the reading selection here, is when you are operating from a place of guidance, from a place of that trust and allowing, and when you're in that space, there's no thought, there's not a lot of thought that needs to happen before something else takes place. And I'll give you a real life example of what I mean by that. One of the newer retreats that's being offered is for certification for leading retreats. Now, when I saw that posted or listed, there was instant action on my part. There was no, let me check and see what my schedule is. Let me check and see what my finances are. Let me check on any of those things. When there's this knowing that comes in, there's just movement after the knowing. There's no thought between the movement or the knowing and the movement. All right. There's no thought between the knowing and the movement. There's just knowing, then there's movement. And that's the thing that I've been learning to adjust to. I see it, I'm a part of it, it's happening, and happening is definitely happening, but that's the part that for me takes a little bit more getting used to riding that kind of way, because I'm open to it. Absolutely. I'm definitely open to receiving that type of guidance and being able to go from knowing to movement. And that's a lot of what's happened for me personally in the last few months. I've been guided to do another thing, to start another thing. When I graduated from MPP, right? I talked before about MPP, my path here in Awakening Together. I think last time I talked about this, I know that it would have been maybe 7 or 8 years ago, because my beloved left in 2014, and I was definitely a part of Awakening Together at that time. So over the course of my connection here into Awakening Together, which, by the way, came in right before that loss. It was perfect the way my connection to Awakening Together, things like that is what I've been given glimpses of here recently. I'll get just an instant shot visual in my mind of that time, right? The time of visual, some type of visual. In this case, it was a visual of me talking to Regina on the phone after that happened. And her telling me something like my life was about to change, that everything was about to change. I remember asking her a question like, I don't understand, where did she go? I was in such a state of shock. So I had a visual drop in of that conversation. And the knowing that my connection there was right around that time came in, and that was why it was perfect. It's so hard to talk about that, the drop down and how information, the knowing manifests instantly. And so when I talked about my evolution here in Awakening Together, I talked about how I went from being so nervous in those initial, so nervous. Oh my God, I was so nervous to be in there talking and to go from that to getting my ordination and then going into, doing a lot of other stuff that I've done here or been a part of, not that I've done, but have been a part of, and then going on into speaking the way I speak now, even how that evolved, how we moved from being in a chat room to a visual. Now we're here, and how my own stuff evolved in that process. So those are the types of visuals that I've been getting on those connections and making those connections that, it was all perfect. It was all absolutely part of where I'm called to be. And I can remember when I graduated from MPP and received that certificate back there on the wall. When I graduated, I remember at that time, and I'm sure we still do this, we talked about how, you had an opportunity to talk about what you wanted to say about being a minister and what have you. So one of the things that I talked about when I graduated, and this was a memory that came back too, was coming out of a cave. Regina obviously has been a light for all of us to help us to be able to acknowledge some things, to come see the light and be able to come forward. And that was part of my homily at my MPP. I knew even then that there was something that I was connected here to do, and a part of this in order to do. I just knew that. I knew that from the beginning, and that was part of my homily. So I guess where it's come for me at this point is being at a place where guidance is something that I look for, go after, and go with, that knowing to movement thing that I've been talking about. That's where I am. I'm at a place where I know that it's time for that to expand for me. It's time for me to expand. in a way, not necessarily me expanding, but the expansion that's occurring for me is one that allows me to connect with a certain demographic, right? That I'm designed to go for. I'm going in that direction. So and bringing information and knowledge and this type of thing forward as best I can, or at least creating the space for that to occur. Because I'm under no delusion here. I'm not here to heal anyone. And that was a part of it when that first dropped down in my spirit, that was the next move. I was not, you know, I'm not here to really be that visual. You guys don't see me that often in this sanctuary with this camera on. That's not my MO. So very leery at first. I mean, I knew it was the knowing and movement thing where I move, knowing, right? Finally, it makes sense to me why Regina was able to leave her job, everything that she loved, and left it all and told us about it all, and and came here to start awakening together. Now it's more than just intellectual knowledge how she did that. I know that once this movement, this knowing to movement, there's no thought in there. Even if there's thought after the fact, even if I'm saying, okay, the knowing and movement happened, even after that knowing and movement happened, the ego will still kick in and say, hey, whoa, hey, what are we doing? What's going on? But the knowing and movement has already occurred. It's already occurred. And so the ego will try to latch on and say, well, wait a second. And so my ego did that too. It said, hey, wait a second. We're not public people like that. That's the ego coming in to say, hey, I need to be protected. I need to be safe. I need to be okay. Before we go forward with anything else, I need to be okay. All right. And so that happened with me, of course. And so this reading that Rubye just gave, and when I read it, that was the universe letting me know there's one song. You're a part of that song. You've been prepared and created to deliver a song, and now is the time to sing. There's one song that's being sung here. We're all a part of it. The pinky toe, the big toe, the ears, every piece of the body is needed in order for all of us to awaken. Every piece. And so after the knowing and the movement occurred, my ego kicked in, like I said, and said, hey, who do you think I am to be standing up and saying anything about anything other than this thing where I'm preaching to the choir who I know knows that I feel safe here sharing. But there's knowing and there's movement. Once the quickening took place, there's knowing and there's movement. What I have to offer, what I was created to offer, I'm not being asked to do anything on my own. I've never been asked to do anything on my own. I trust the information that I've been given. I trust the downloads that I've received. I trust that whatever is to happen will happen, that I'm not in control of what happens. And going into that, knowing this loving all, whatever shows up, accept that, love that, be with that. Same for you. Whatever shows up, love that, be with that, accept that. Or as Regina said in her talk there, emotionally allow that. And that's where I'm at. From an egoic standpoint, the higher, that awakened part, that has had enough of those small awakenings, enough pokes in that fabric have occurred that the vision has gotten really clear. And so I accept that. I have no expectations, just like I had no expectations of how Rubye was going to show up or what reading she was going to show up with. I have no expectations for whatever, just whatever it is. And that again goes back to that quickening, the awakening. A big enough hole was poked and you just can't go back after that kind of hole is poked. There's no backwards pedaling at all. There's knowing, and then there's movement. So, it's amazing because a part of me has always known this. A part of me has always known that somehow this life was not mine to just say, we're going to go left, we're going to go right, even though I've done a lot of left and right in my life. I've gone in a lot of left, made a lot of lefts, made a lot of rights, and came right back around in a circle, done a lot of that. But a part of me has always known that this life wasn't mine per se, you know? So it's just me being open to how it's showing up. And that's really what my homily is about today. It is about my own personal experience and all that, very much so. But even deeper than that, at a much deeper level than that, it's for all of us to, have that, maybe not the same experience, because we can't ever dictate what another person's experience will be, how things will show up for them, or how they will respond to those movements, to that knowledge. But as a general rule, learning to be with whatever's showing up here now, like there was no resistance to any of it. There still isn't. And that's the vibration I hope to emit in this conversation today. The absence of resistance, the embodiment of acceptance, and the allowing for whatever life which is being lived through each of us is calling for. You may not be called to go and do a thing and this thing over here that may require you to be more publicly visible and active in the world. You may not be called into that level of service, but we are all called. We are all called to have whatever experiences are here to be had. This one song that's playing from this reading today, this one song that's playing, you have a note to play in that song as well. And the more each one of us trusts this one song, the more each and every person connected to Awakening Together now, in the past, or in the future, each and every person who learns to trust that song, who learns to dance in synchronicity with that song, who learns to be okay even when the music is turned off, when there's no song, right? When you're not even sure that someone can even hear your song. That's where, that's what promotes awakening for all of us, is to individually accept your one song, your note in that one song, because neither one of us is the song itself. We're all a part of the song. None of us are outside of, absent from, separate from, right? The one problem and the one solution. We've never been apart from this one song. And wherever the song is, whatever role this voice has to sing in the song, I'm not only ready, I'm willing, I'm fully accepting whatever's here and asking to be birthed through me. Even though I don't understand fully what's being asked to be birthed. I don't understand it fully. I don't know where the name came from or my tag name. I don't know where any of that came from. But I don't worry about that. It's not really, I have no concerns about any of that. It is what it is. And that's the message that I have. That's the message that I'm here today again to deliver. Acknowledging whatever role and you don't have to go looking for your role. No one has to go looking for whatever it is they're here to do. That is always seeking you. Always. It's never not seeking you. Our only jobs then, our only task really in the matter is to line up with it. To recognize it when we see it and to allow it in whatever way it's showing up. There are no mistakes. When power is perfect, it doesn't make mistakes. I was just at a funeral yesterday. I really wasn't at the funeral. I was at a place after the funeral where the family was gathered. And it was a young lady, small children. She was in her 20s. No, I think she was maybe 30. She had small children, It was a sad situation. It always is. When young people leave unexpectedly, it's always a sad situation. But it's also part of the one song. The song is playing perfectly for each of us as it should. And I don't mean to sound discompassionate about the situation in the least. I felt their pain. I know that pain is real. But I also know that there's one song at play here. Right? I've been watching this deep fake stuff. They have a deep fake Tom Cruise now. I saw something on the billboard. I see in the ballparks and whatnot, they're putting these animals running through the park, this holographic image of that looks like it's there in the stadium, when in reality it's not. It's just an image on a screen. I've seen the deep fake Tom. If you haven't seen that, look that up. The deep fake Tom Cruise, like they're projecting this holographic image that is his, likely it's his image, but it's not him. So this whole blurring the lines of reality, what's real, what isn't, that's very much at play. That energy is up now. Before long, we won't be able to tell if you're talking or seeing someone on a screen who's actually there or who's in another country someplace, because they've projected their image onto the screen for us to look at. And it's as great technology. I mean, the technology there is amazing. But it's, like I said, it's blurring the lines about where reality starts and what reality really is, right? So my take on that is, if we're going to blur the lines, if we're going to not really be able to tell what's real, what isn't real, we won't be able to tell the real from the fake. So my goal is to always stay focused on the truth, right? The truth is changeless. It does not shift and move and disappear and reappear and get bigger and get smaller. The truth does none of that. The truth remains constant. And so we have to be plugged into that truth, to that level of truth, because the world in and of itself is getting more and more. You just can't tell one thing from the other anymore, you know. And it's only gonna, the more they see that the feedback they're getting from the games, from the stadiums, where those animals are jumping out of the seats and onto the thing, the more play that all gets, the more that's going to spread out. You know, you'll be going in the grocery store and it'll be a holographic person standing there serving you your food in a minute, or into a restaurant. Again, blurring the lines between reality and illusion. So it's in all of our greatest interest, in our best interest, to stay connected in with truth. It just doesn't change at all. And I love that about truth. Even though, you know, like they say sometimes, the truth can set you free, but it'll also hurt your feelings too, right? It could. If a truth, it just depends on how the truth is delivered. It just depends on who's delivering it and what they're saying. But the truth has the potential to you know, shake you up too. But it doesn't change. I'm talking, there's relative truth. I know there's absolute truth. There's, you know, we have levels to that too. I'm talking about the one truth, the one power. The fact that you and I are not separate from our source. That's one truth. That's that changeless truth right there. And it's the only truth that really matters. All right. Hi, it's 11:11. Cool. That's I like I said, I feel ready for whatever life is calling forth for me. I know that in today's reading, today's lesson is it's about that. It's about that one song. It's about accepting your role in that one song. It's about me acknowledging my role in that one song, right? Whatever service, whatever calling, whatever knowledge, whatever gift, you know, because sometimes our only goal is to be the space of love in a rough situation, right? You're not called to say anything or do anything or go anywhere or have any part in anything, really. You know, at times, and I'm still that way too, very much at times called to just hold the space of love. But again, there's no mistaking. There won't ever be a mistake made with what you're called to do, what you're called to get involved in. It's so in your face. It's so like, you know, I'm right here. I'm just not going anywhere. I'm right here. So make no mistake about that. All right. I feel complete with what I wanted to share today. I know that this will likely be my last time in gathering this year. I don't know what next year will bring for me in terms of gathering. I know where this mind and body is heading right now. Next month, I'll be launching another platform, a scary platform, but it is a platform. But it's all good, you know. I didn't create it. So why would I need to make sure that it survives? You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to do my part. I'll show up and do my thing. But hey, it didn't come from me. It was literally a download. Seriously, that I said yes to. So I want to ask anyone who's called to give a donation for Awakening Together. Sina will put a link in our room that will allow you to give at whatever your heart calls you to give at, whatever level you are called to give. We are always welcome and grateful for those donations. So she'll be posting a link for you there. I'm also going to ask her to play us a closing song so that we can contemplate this whole one song thing, having that knowledge that we are absolutely, see, that's why, you know, we can accept abundance, because we're, and everything that comes along with abundance, joy, peace, love, all of it, everything, because we're connected to the source of everything. That source of everything is always flowing through us as freely as we'll allow it. And so we acknowledge that connection. Absolutely. And thank you so much for that. So if anyone else would like to share anything at all, you're welcome to do so now. We have a few minutes before we end today's gathering. I see Regina with her hand up there. Regina, please take the mic.
Yeah, Gloria, to be honest, is all I could do to sit here and shut up while you were talking. I wanted to like echo everything you were saying. I was so excited the whole time you were sharing. I was very, very patient. But you know, I think it was last Sunday that I announced my retirement, and said that, you know, as far as I know now, December 31st, 2022 will be my last day as an employee of Awakening Together. There's the realm of possibility it could be earlier. I don't think there's any possibility it'll be later. So I'm in my last days. And, you know, your sharing today was just perfect. I mean, if I could, you know, pick, it would be what's blossoming in the heart of everyone right now. You know, this blossoming in the heart of everyone right now as I'm leaving, that, you know, I'm feeling my guidance, I'm fitting in with my guidance, I'm following my guidance. And one thing that was so exciting to me, a couple things that were so exciting to me, but one thing that was so exciting to me is when you talked about this desire to make me safe first, you know, and that has to be thrown out the friggin' window. It just has to. You know, me first means ego first. That's exactly what that means. Me safe first means ego safe first. Me getting my desires first means ego getting its desires first. There's just no way you can follow guidance with me first. Me has to be thrown out the window. It's an absolutely necessary part of this. And interestingly, next week, I think my homily will follow yours perfectly, because next week I'm talking about ego backlash. You know, as I started, especially on this path of following guidance, I had in the beginning, especially so much, I used to call them ego attacks, just ego attacks, out and out ego attacks. And the reason the ego was attacking is because I wasn't saying me first, right? That's what it was reacting to. It was reacting to the fact that I was throwing it out and I was following my guidance, and it reacted like hell. And, you know, sometimes people don't want to hear that. They want to think that it's all going to be nice and easy, but, you know, that's just not my experience. My experience is the ego fights to survive, and that we have to be okay with the ego kicking and screaming. Like, it doesn't actually hurt if you learn to just be okay with it, right? Just have to be okay with it and follow your guidance anyway. So I'll talk about that next week. I also loved how you said you don't have to go seeking your guidance. I actually think the one that seeks guidance is also ego. You know, the ego's out there. What is my part? What is my part? Right? It's seeking, right? It wants to find how I'm a part of this, what I'm supposed to be doing, you know, and actually, like you said, your guidance will find you. So our focus, I mean, Jesus said this so perfectly, our focus is seek ye first the kingdom, and all else will be added to you. That's your safety. Believe it or not, even some of your desires, but also your guidance. It's not our job to seek our safety. It's not our job to seek to satisfy our desires. And it is not our job to seek our guidance. It's our job to seek the truth, right? That's it. You know, that's so friggin' easy. We don't have to figure everything out. We don't have to figure anything out. We just keep seeking the truth as sincerely as we can, and everything else in this song will play perfectly. So, Gloria, I just love this, love this, love this. In fact, I loved it so much, I will be listening again. And I would hope that everyone would listen 2 or 3 times, honestly. I mean, that would be my prayer, that everybody would listen to this homily you just gave 2 or 3 times. It's interesting, when we woke up this morning here, I happened to mention to my boyfriend, I said, I said, I slept so good last night. I said, it feels like this morning is a whole new fresh start. That's just how it felt when I got up, like it was New Year's Day or something. And it's not, it's Halloween. But you know how New Year's Day always has that fresh start feel, right? I woke up with that. Today's a whole new fresh start. And then your homily was the perfect beginning of that. And I don't know anything about what the future is going to look like for Awakening Together. I don't even know what the future is going to look like for me. Certainly don't know what it's going to look like for you. But that was the perfect homily. And another thing that you said was perfect just for me personally at the end. You were talking about whatever it is you're going on to, but you said something like, I didn't start it, so it's not my job to ensure that it survives. That's the way I feel about Awakening Together. I feel like that's my job. My job is to hand it over to everyone and not look back and see if people are doing it right, whether they're following guidance, following ego. It's just, I didn't start it. It's not my job to make sure it survives. Yet I get real excited when I can tell someone's following guidance, because that's where the perfection really lies. So anyway, as you can tell, I'm very excited. Like I said, I had trouble keeping my mouth shut. I just wanted to be in an interactive conversation with you the whole time. It was wonderful. Yeah. So thank you so much, Gloria.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Regina. I wasn't in on the, I didn't know that you were retiring at the end of this year. So that'll be different. And that is so amazing. My boss is, like you said, there is a blossoming that's happening universally right now. I really believe in my heart that we've absolutely shifted from the love of power to the power of love. That shift has occurred. That has happened at a earthly level, at a planetary level. And I think that shift is just causing so much movement. I feel, not think, I do, again, no thought. I feel that there's so much movement happening as a result. I just heard on Friday that my boss is resigning after 15 years. And then I hear here today that you resigned. I didn't know that. And I've just really been doing exactly what this reading today has said. Accept all, resist nothing. When your role, whatever role you are here to play, you will know what note you need to play. Trust that note when it shows up, because we are living in a powerful now. All right. Anyone else want to share anything else here? All right. I don't, Sina, you see anybody? Okay, good. Then we're good. Why don't you go ahead and play
I just want to say something real quick. I think I heard you say retiring this year. It's actually December 31st, 2022, next year. Just wanted to throw that in.
Next year.
Yeah. So
yeah,
like
I totally heard that as this year. Yes.
Yeah. 14 months away. Just wanted to throw that in. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Well, and also thank you for giving us that much of a warning. Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely. All right. Thank you for clearing that up, Regina. And
You've been watching our online gathering. It happens weekly on Sundays at 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time. To join us live in the sanctuary, visit our website, awakening-together.org. You'll want to click on Online Sanctuary in the main menu, and then in the drop-down menu, look for How to Enter the Sanctuary. Right there at the top of the page is a clickable link. We'd love to see you in the sanctuary and join with you in fellowship. Thank you again for watching. Also, please know that if you'd like to stay connected via the Awakening Together channel here on YouTube, you can subscribe and hit the bell for more notifications. We hope to see you in the sanctuary.